Forbes India and Logitech present the future of executive leadership in a virtual world. #Be present.
Hello and a very warm welcome to this special conversation brought to you by Forbes India on the future of executive leadership in a virtual world. I'm Mugdha Kalra, and today we are diving into a discussion that resonates with every leader navigating the complexities of modern business. In an era where remote and hybrid work models are becoming the norm, leadership is being redefined. The way executives engage with their teams, make decisions, and drive innovation, all is evolving rapidly. Meetings, once seen as mere formalities, are now pivotal moments that shape a company's culture, strategic direction, and operational efficiencies as well. The challenge for leaders today is not just to conduct meetings, but to make them meaningful, engaging, and impactful. And who better to give us insights on this than Ritesh Agarwal, founder and CEO of OYO, a visionary leader who leads the hospitality industry with his innovative approach and agile mindset. Today, we will explore with him how leaders can foster a strong presence in virtual and hybrid settings, create high-impact conversations, and strike the right balance between efficiency and collaboration. Welcome, Ritesh. Welcome to the studios.
Thank you, Mugdha. Thanks for having me here.
You know, they say the art of communication is the language of leadership. What is your language? And what is your personal style when you get into a meeting?
Fundamentally, in the world of business, I feel to be a good leader, I often say that you have to have big brains, you have to be thoughtful, you have to be intellectual and so on. But in my mind, you have to have a bigger heart, because for thousands or hundreds of thousands of people to believe that you're the leader who can drive and help them progress and become more successful, I think they got to feel like you genuinely have your heart in the right place.
Right.
I think people would not find out whether your heart is in the right place until you communicate. So my view is that, at least my mantra has been dil se in communication. That is, you got to share what you have in your heart, be able to have discussions right down to the smallest tactics or the biggest strategy, but without any constant perspective or bias of saying what would the counterparty judge me with, but just being open-minded. And I think that's been very helpful for me. And almost anyone that you'd speak to who's worked with me would say that, you know, Ritesh speaks his mind. And the second and more important is that, you know, these conversations never felt like I'm speaking to the high-flying executive. It really felt like somebody who I could take away a few things from, and I could share a few things that would be valuable to the individual.
Leadership styles have changed over a period of time, right? Our bosses were different. Yeah, people we interned with were completely different. And then we worked with teams, with dynamics, now with the diversity angle into it, and you know, being very nuanced. I think there is a bit of scrutiny in how you present yourself, how you communicate. For some people, it might just put a lot of pressure on them of being seen all the time. And for some, it is to change their mantra. And if you are dil se the whole time, it's a different strategy altogether. As a leader, how important is it for one to be much more conscious of this than the rest of your people?
Look, my view is that authenticity in this new world of being visible all the time is, in my view, the most important. The internet and visible technologies is a funny place. In this place, the ability for people to figure out what you think, what to expect from you, is actually incredibly easy versus common perception that it's hard. The reason I feel it's so easy is because if you're not authentic, it's hard to be another person for so long, right?
Yeah.
So my view is that the dil se, being present, is exceptionally critical because that's the only way you can be authentic. To the point of how do you manage, like, given leadership styles are changing, people are changing. When I started work 10 years ago. And at that point of time, I used to be the youngest in absolutely every room, right? Now, on an average, 40 to 50% people in the rooms I am in are younger than me. And that's changing every year for me personally.
Yeah.
And I have seen how that's changed the perspective of conversations. I think the new young workforce that's coming in, they're unafraid to share their opinions.
Right.
They're not worried of being made feel that you have no idea what you're talking about. They don't care about it. They just want to share what they feel like. They work for purpose. They want to know about whatever they're doing, how does it make progress or how does it make a difference?
True.
And that works very well for me personally, because I feel like that's exactly how I work every day. So what I've done is, around myself, I have senior leaders who, of course, are in their mid-40s, early 50s, who have a great amount of experience. And that's valuable for an enterprise our size. But every year, I try to recruit 2 young kids from college campuses who come work directly with me.
How interesting.
They have absolutely no burden, no past issues. And when everybody is having
So
a conversation about saying, there's this issue we've dealt with last 20 years, here are the different case studies, how things have not worked out. And one of them would raise their hand and share an idea which just blows everybody's mind. And you feel like, well, this sounds crazy, but maybe worth trying.
Yeah.
So I think it's a new world, and it's a new way of leadership. And I think being open-minded, being authentic, and being present are the ways of sort of dealing with it, is my experience.
What happens now in the virtual world? It's so difficult, when you're looking at hybrid working space where more people are working from home, some are working in the office. How do you connect with people when you are working in these 2 mediums and they're so different? One is in person and one is completely online.
Nikki, I think this is the reality of today's world. We cannot wish it away.
True.
That technology has made the ability of being able to have a conversation or a meeting far easier than it was a few years ago. But it comes at a cost. The cost is that of not being, I always feel like you build and get relationships when you're in person.
Right.
And you draw on those relationships when you're on a video. But if you're not investing as much, what will you draw out of? So it comes at a cost. But that cost, I feel, can be made up for. I think can be solved for. And I think there are some ways of doing that. Here are some of the ways I and our people try to make sure that we can create the best outcome. The first and probably the foremost, and we were discussing this earlier, is keep the camera on. I think that is exceptionally valuable, because you're not there in person, so you're already losing out on a lot.
Especially the first meetings.
Right.
I'm already judging the person who's not putting the camera on when we're meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you have no idea who that person is, what to care about, and so on. And after that, like, we're social beings, right? We are designed to sort of take energy from each other.
Yep.
If you're getting good vibes and good energy, we are more excited, we are more energized, than the other way around. So in my mind, if you can see the individual on the other side, makes a world of a difference. And doing it is hard, because you may be at a place where it is not exciting. You may be wanting to do something on the side, like your emails at the same time. There's a lot of distractions.
Correct.
Because you have a choice. When you're there in person, there is no choice. You're there. आप तो बैठे हो वहाँ पे, अब क्या करें? So I think in that perspective, I feel I try to show up, and because, like you said, if you're the leader, if you don't role model, others don't get there. So I try to show up on camera all the time. But in my mind, that's not good enough. You'll need to also build it into a culture where you constantly, informally, formally communicate with your colleagues to try and make sure that they switch on their camera. I'll give you an example, right? It was just a few days back, one of the calls, a few colleagues were not on camera. And 1 or 2 had some real, like they were traveling or something. It's understandable if that's the issue.
Right.
But there were a few who just, like, were not on. And one of the colleagues pointed out and said, well, if you switched on the camera, I'd know your body language and it'd make it easier for me to share my opinion. And I think out of the 5, other than the people who were traveling, everybody switched on the camera. It was super easy, made life easier for everyone. The second thing I feel, which is also very crucial in a lot of these meetings, is to seek feedback and opinion. Often what happens is, in a lot of these calls, subconsciously, the leader ends up speaking 70% of the time, right? And everybody else is listening, taking notes and so on. And life में, this principle is very simple. If you don't contribute, you can never believe it is your plan. You always feel it is a boss's plan.
Absolutely.
अच्छा हुआ तो उनका, बुरा हुआ तो उनका, right?
Correct.
This is one of the feedbacks that I have taken over the last few years, and I've tried to nudge that in our meetings, how do we get majority of the people to get to speak at least for some time, right? Almost require people to speak. I think that makes a huge difference because everybody then feels involved and accountable for the big outcome. And I'd say last but not the least is making sure that I do a calendar audit every week.
Interesting.
So I
What is
ask
that about?
myself that wherever I spent my time in each one of the meetings, I come from Odisha, so there's a Odia and a Bengali word which is labtaki, which is what came out of it.
Ah,
So I ask myself what came out of each one of those conversations for the last week.
interesting.
And that allows me to prepare the next few weeks. Because a lot of times you go into a meeting, you leave, you feel like you did a lot of work, you spoke a lot, but a week later you figure that customers' life didn't get better, merchants' life didn't get better, shareholders' returns didn't get better.
हमने time भी बर्बाद किया
time भी
meeting पे.
चला गया. So उसलिए वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. I think that
Tell me
calendar
the
audit
word
helps.
again. Laptaki.
Labtaki. What did you
As
get?
in, क्या
What's
लाभ
the-
हुआ?
हाँ, क्या लाभ हुआ?
हाँ,
Correct.
oh, very nice. Tell me about a meeting where the body language of the person, or when you were in a room and you felt that the vibe of the room is not right, looking at the person, or the vibe of the room is right, and maybe I should make the pivot, the next one.
Yeah.
And how important did that meeting? The meeting had a lot of laptaki.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you this. I spend 15 days a month of mine meeting our owners around the world.
Right.
And one of the things that's very crucial to me is I keep the phone aside. It's very hard because you have messages and notifications, all kinds of distractions.
True.
But I believe that you made the effort to show up to a physical meeting or made the effort to come to a digital meeting by blocking a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So don't get distracted. So in one of these meetings, my counterparty was constantly on the phone, right? And I looked at him and I asked, so where have you come from for this meeting? This meeting was in London. Our owner had come from Glasgow for this meeting.
Wow.
So I said, if you've come from Glasgow, you might as well give me 30 minutes of your time and hopefully I'll add some value to your life because you thought I was worth it to come all the way.
True.
And at the end of that meeting, I think we signed a few locations due to which our Scottish presence has grown by 3 times.
Wonderful.
As an outcome. So the location owner had a great outcome because they got great love, but I did as well. So my view is that gently nudging your counterparty to just say that, well, this distraction may not be worth as much your while as it is yours, and the same other way around to yourself may be of a lot of benefit. But I think there's just so many meetings about in this manner. The simplest way of making sure, the simple hack that in a video call, if you see 20 log hain, there are 20 people and 2 or 3 are distracted, the simplest way is to ask their opinion.
Put them on the spot.
Right? And it makes life so much. And I think
They also feel, even if they don't feel seen at that moment, perhaps they feel that I count. I'm being seen.
Yeah, and I'm able to share my perspective, my
true.
opinion, and so on. And I think asking with curiosity, I think the tone makes a huge difference.
Oh, of course.
If you ask with a sense of curiosity, saying, Raj, what do you think about it? Versus saying, Raj, it seems to be that you seem to be distracted. I think instead of making people feel embarrassed, really making them feel counted, like you mentioned, I think that's what would bring the best out of people, I feel.
Any tips on how people can be made more seen in these meetings? We were earlier talking about something called virtual etiquettes, and a very important word came out, meeting equity. And I think that is what you were referring to when you said involve everyone.
Yeah. Look, I think quick tips from my own experience. The first is all these technological video conferencing solutions have lots of features which are seldom used. Simple one is raise a hand. You don't have that in physical meetings, right? Like in a physical meeting, it's so odd for somebody to just sit with their hands up all the time. Whereas on digital, the computer does it for you. And people use it so rarely that you'll stand out very quickly. That's one. Second is chat. People don't use chat unless asked for.
Yeah.
Use it more often if you have an opinion or a question. Third, be able to make sure that on the video, you demonstrate or like you're there, and at the same time you try and show up and share your opinion, right?
Yeah.
Even if people feel a little bit troubled about it, I think it's okay to share your opinion, I believe. And the last but not the least, in my mind, is to make sure that you get that, like, if you feel very strongly about something, just give it 10 or 20 seconds more, at least I do it often, to frame it. I think often what happens is we feel very strongly about something,
Right.
but we haven't framed it yet. It's okay to take that 30 seconds or 20 seconds and say that, well, I'm going to frame it. Like, you know, I was listening to a Elon Musk interview where he took 30 seconds and he said, I want to think about what I said. And he said, what he said at the end was actually fantastic. But I think those 30 seconds was worth it. So if somebody like him can need the time, sure, all like every other professional could need the time. It's okay.
Yeah.
So those would be my 4 hacks of being being visible in a meeting.
Ritesh, one of the bigger priorities with the leadership also is sustainability, climate change, DEI good practices. And in that narrative, you also start to wonder which meeting is important, which is not, which should be done in person, which can be a virtual meeting. How do you as a leader prioritize where do I have to go, where do I have to be, what needs to be done in person, what can be handled virtually? Because we also are realizing that leadership, top management across the world spends a fortune on traveling.
Yeah.
Spends a fortune on traveling, getting to the meeting, getting to places. Places are booked, hotels are booked, conference rooms are booked. It costs. Yeah. And sometimes you really need to take an audit of these decisions that you're making. How easy or difficult is it for you? Because obviously you're not meeting random people. You are actually meeting leaders who would want that kind of attention.
Yeah.
How as a leader do you prioritize then?
Generally, I encourage people to travel because I have a bias towards
All right.
people traveling because that's the business I'm in.
Fair enough.
But that said, I think I wholeheartedly agree with the perspective that with the advent of digital technologies, one is able to accomplish a lot more in a day. And hence, you know, it is far more sustainable to be able to judge which meetings you should do in person and which you're able to do by video, which is true for my own job as well and for my colleagues as well.
Yeah.
I think typically the way I make this opinion is to say, who have I met earlier and who have I not? Typically who I have not, I try to make sure that I make the first meeting in person, even if there is not much that comes out of it. And if there is a second or third, it's the same thing of what I mentioned earlier, which is investing in relationships or drawing from relationships. I think just going a little bit deeper in that, I have typically seen that conferences are a great way of getting this relationship started because you get to meet hundreds of people in a day, even if a few minutes per person, but you at least have a sense of relationship where you both know each other, have a background and have some kind of history with each other. I think the only other thing I'd say is that I'm a huge fan of one-on-one meetings. I know it's controversial nowadays where some people believe that only group meetings make sense. But I believe that for me personally, along with group meetings, the one-on-one meetings have been exceptionally valuable because that's the only real time where your colleague or your partner, whoever you're speaking to on the phone or in person, really is fully vulnerable and genuinely can fully open up, and so can you without any fear of judgment. I have seen most things have gotten done in one-on-one meetings that I have had versus like a meeting of 30 people where it's just you're listening to all opinions, but the decision eventually you have to come up with or somebody else in the room has to come up with. So my view is that one-on-one meetings and investing in relationships before you start drawing on them are the two views I have to make the most out of them.
Ritesh, how do you equip your properties with tech? I have seen so many people do interviews from hotel rooms. They are on the go. They are traveling, and sometimes that is just the go-to place where you're at.
Yeah.
And you also want to take it easy. You also want your own bit of space. How important has this trend been since COVID of making places that you are traveling away from your own workspace and your own home more technologically accessible?
Look, this is extremely important. First off, people reason of travel has also changed.
True.
The people who travel for work, like you mentioned, the people who travel on a staycation just right outside the city,
Yeah.
and that has grown like 10 times after COVID. They are remote workers. They are people who just work from, one of these exotic locations, like from
Absolutely.
Goa or Shimla, Kovalam in Kerala, and places like those. Given different kinds of travel habits, it's important for us to preempt how do we ensure people's work ability can be efficient. The first and foremost for that is making sure that you have, it is not even funny how many times the hotel industry may not get it right, which is a great desk and a great chair. Because historically, pre-COVID, it was not so relevant because people wouldn't use it as much. But now it is very relevant. So getting the desk and the chair right is crucial. The second, high-speed Wi-Fi, because you have to be prepared that your televisions are smart now and people want to play great television shows. But at the same time, people want to connect on video conferencing and things linked to
True.
it. Third is, and again, this is all basics, right? Switchboards everywhere in the room, right? Often in hotels, you'd find that the switchboard is at the other corner.
Absolutely.
And you just can't hook your phone up to or your laptop up to charge, and they're out of juice. I think these are the very basics. The fourth, I would say, is that great conferencing facilities. I think we have business in US, Europe, India,
Right.
and I feel like the conferencing culture is still about to take off in India in comparison to what I see in other countries.
How they're doing, how the West is doing.
I mean, just the number of conferences, just the
Right.
number of people who go there. Better conferencing facilities even in our hotels with audio-visual technologies deeply integrated, I think can be a very positive difference creator.
Wonderful. And as it is, Moody's upgrade reflects OYO's profitability surge. And it's not just about staying efficient, it's also about innovating. And tech innovation, I'm guessing from all that you're saying is right at the top of your game.
Yeah, look, I think first off, we are thankful that I believe this would have come a few quarters before, but as it always happens, you have to keep demonstrating results before the
Right.
rating agencies upgrade you. So thankful to Moody's and Fitch, who both upgraded us, and S&P, which rated us first time, but also had a healthy rating as an outcome. My view is it's happened because of three reasons. The first is our focus on premiumizing, because the Indian customer is premiumizing very quickly.
Right.
They're trying to go from economy to premium. So our Townhouse brand, our Sunday brands, our Palette brands, which are sort of our little bit of our premium/luxury brands, are all doing extremely well. Of course, the economy segment continues to do well,
Right.
but premiumization has helped us a lot. And within that, what we've seen is where we manage properties ourselves, especially in India, where we've taken control over the customer service, is making our customers sort of appreciate better. Like we put this company service tag if we manage it ourselves. The second thing that I've seen work well for us is absolute focus on making sure, like you said, technological innovation, both for reaching customers, delivering better service, and doing it at lower cost.
Right.
We're able to make our customers happier by means of providing them great facilities, and instead of using many distribution agencies, going direct to them, which saves costs.
True.
And that money we give to the customer back. So customer likes it. Costs are lower because now with the advent of AI, you're able to manage costs extremely low, and hence be able to pass on part of that benefit to your customer and part to your shareholder. So my view is that this combination has allowed us, like it feels distant past, but only 4 or 5 years back, the biggest question about new age companies used to be, they're all loss making.
Yeah.
Right? We delivered 230 crores of profit last year. This year, probably over 600 crores. And this is not just us. I think any other, like you see Zomato's earnings, they have been fantastic. I'm sure you're seeing Info Edge has, of course, been the
Yes.
OG. They've done this very, very well over the many years. I think Swiggy is improving more recently. So I see that the new age companies are coming of age, where they're demonstrating that they can use technological innovation
Yeah.
and consumer preference to generate not just a lot of EBITDA,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is one of the line items that while people like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think the net profit, profit after taxes, is the real deal, and that's the line item where you're also seeing a lot of progress from people.
Ritesh, before I let you go, I have to ask you, if given a choice between the tech world and all it offers, what are some of the innovations that you're most excited about in your line of work, while keeping in mind that people are important, meeting people are important. As a leadership style, what is the balance between the tech, mindfulness, and work as you have to do it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, the first and the foremost in my mind is that we all as individuals, we want to make a positive difference. We want to get ahead in life, right? We want to get ahead individually, we want to take our companies ahead. So my number one perspective is anything, any opportunity that we have around ourselves, how can we use it and harness it to improve ourselves and people around ourselves in terms of their lives, their opportunities, I think is what inspires me, and I think inspires every single individual I've met so far, especially people of this generation who
Right.
sort of genuinely they want to
Purpose
make
and-
a positive difference, right? The right balance between technology and mindfulness or sustainability, in that the way I see it is, it's crucial that you live your life with no regrets. I always ask myself that the last week, the work that I did, do I feel like if this was the last week, it was a week well done. And I think that's a very important opportunity for us to say that every day, every week, every month, wherever we are spending time on, I think we feel this is great. I think feel happy about the
Yeah.
impact we've made. I think in terms of technology, I straddle between the technology and the hospitality industry, which I feel is the best combination between tech and mindfulness. I think in the world of technology, I'm inspired by what AI can do. I feel like we will see AGI in our generation, where machines will be equally bright or brighter than human beings. They will make decisions, they will move around, they will make judgments like human beings. And I feel like it is up to us about how do we make sure that we take advantage of it in the most constructive manner possible. So, like, I think we are trying so many exciting things, right? From, for example, cleaning robots have historically been a standard robot which can go around and clean the carpet. But now that you have AI, you can have the robot take hundreds of pictures at the same time. It can move the machine in a manner where it can go clean the sink on the back. Like, it can do things which otherwise would have not been expected with the standard robots that existed. So I think that the applications of AI and the industry of AI, right, from liquid coolants, ability to set Blackwell chips and various others, I think just intrigues me as a curious mind.
Interesting.
And the other extreme is in the world of hospitality. I see that consumers' interest for wellness is rapidly rising. Even if the customer is spending 3,000 rupees a night or 2,500, can we deliver them an experience which is as good as 7,000, 8,000? It may be, small changes in the common areas may be smaller, but can you get them a large or a larger room key? Can you give them a room experience which is really well thought through? And along with that, can you give them some downtime to have an opportunity to pursue wellness? I think that's something that I find intriguing.
Wonderful. And thank you so much, Ritesh, for giving us your time and for having this candid chat with me, where we just didn't discuss work, but also your leadership mantra. How do you present yourself? How do you make others seen? And also about what excites you now with what is coming with the tech world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Like I said, dil se.
They'll say, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, what a fascinating discussion on leadership in today's ever-evolving business world. From driving innovation and fostering engagement to making meetings sharper and more meaningful, Ritesh's insights have given us a fresh perspective on how leaders can truly make an impact. As OYO continues to set new benchmarks, it is exciting to see how leadership and collaboration will evolve in the virtual era. Thank you so much. I hope you found all the insights and experiences and the valuable lessons that I'm taking home with me as important for you. We hope this conversation leaves you with actionable takeaways on leading with intent in a rapidly changing world. Thank you for watching.
Forbes India and Logitech present the future of executive leadership in a virtual world. #Be present.